Thanks for tuning in. Let's get one thing straight, this isn't some sugar-coated, crystal-waving self-help session. Nope. This is the real deal. Welcome. In this video, we're diving into the raw, unfiltered questions women ask the most and the answers they don't always get. We're talking relationships, independence, money, family, and that constant tug-of-war between I want love and I better cover my own back just in case he forgets how to act. You'll hear honest takes, hard truths, a few laughs, and probably something that'll make you pause and go, huh, that makes sense. So grab a coffee, maybe a notebook or a glass of wine if it's that kind of day, and let's get into it. No lectures. No fluff. Just straight answers to the questions you've been carrying around way too long. Let's begin. You know, these days, everyone's talking about karma like it's the latest health cleanse. Folks are busy trying to cleanse it, balance it, heal it, as if karma's something you can scrub off with essential oils and a mood playlist. But let's be real for a second. You don't need a fancy ritual to understand karma. It's simple, cause and effect. That's the whole deal. Say you've got liver trouble, like cirrhosis. Now, you can treat it, maybe even slow it down. But here's the thing, if you've been knocking back whiskey like it's water for years, then yeah, you're living the result of your choices. You've got two options, stop drinking, or, well, write it out and hope you get a better deal in the next life. Maybe next time around you skip the booze and keep your liver intact. That's karma. Straightforward. But who really knows? Let's shift gears. I'm 54 now. Been a caregiver for most of my adult life, so naturally, I tend to be around folks older than me. You start to notice things. Statistically speaking, most guys don't live forever. I mean, the average guy in this country lives to about 60. Give or take. But average is a funny word, isn't it? It's like saying one guy eats steak, the other eats salad, and somehow you call it a balanced diet because, hate stuffed cabbage rolls? Yeah. That's average. So if you're being looked after by a guy who's 54 or older, don't go worrying that he's about to drop dead on you. Seriously, don't bring that up. That's not helpful. What are you gonna do, plan his funeral or plan a weekend trip? It all depends on what you want. You want a man with some fire left in him? Someone you can still laugh and mess around with? Sure, go for it. But if you're looking to build a real life together, like, settle down, build a home, then yeah, make sure he's the kind of man who's got more than a pulse. Make sure he's decent. And for the record, just because someone's 54 doesn't mean they've got one foot in the grave. I'm 50, and guess what? According to statistics, I've already entered the watch list. Doesn't mean I'm done living. Far from it. Alright, let's keep going. One thing I've noticed, when letters get longer, chances get slimmer. That's just how it is. Human attention spans weren't built for essays. Anyway, you asked me to jog your memory, pull something out of the old books. Sure. But let's be honest, most of those ancient teachings? They all say the same thing, you reap what you sow. That's karma. And that's life. So, I was listening to this lecture online the other day, one of those late-night rabbit holes you fall into, and the topic was, well, let's just say it was about women and how many partners they've had. I know right off the bat, that already sounds like some ancient scroll of judgment waiting to happen. But the guy said something that stuck with me, not because I agreed, but because it was just wild enough to remember. He claimed that if a woman's been with more than 5 men in her life, something supposedly changes in her body permanently. Like her internal chemistry just shifts course and never quite returns. Sounds a little extreme, right? Most folks would probably call that old school nonsense. And look, there are women who'll hear that and go, please. I've had 50 partners and I'm still here, thriving. Fair enough. But it got me thinking not about the number, really, but about what is, fundamentally. What is it, at its core? Originally, wasn't about pleasure or fireworks or candlelit playlists. It was for one thing, creating life. That was the assignment. Over time, we kind of repurposed it. Now, people chase the thrill of it like they're searching for gold under the couch cushions. And yeah, we've turned it into something entertaining, something exciting, like digging in your nose and finding, well, something oddly satisfying. Crude comparison, but you get the idea. Now, I'm exaggerating a little here, but let's not pretend we don't know what's going on. Feels good for a reason. If it didn't, the human race probably would have called it quits a long time ago. There's a built-in drive that pushes men to seek it out, some primal hormonal storm that gets stirred up until we can't ignore it. And here's where it gets interesting, especially for women. From an evolutionary standpoint, a woman's body doesn't just go through the motions when she's with a man. It adjusts, adapts, changes. I've read in a few sexology books that each time a woman forms a sexual bond with someone, there's a physiological shift that happens. Her body starts aligning itself to that specific man. It's not just about feelings, it's chemistry. Literal chemistry. Her system, her whole internal environment, whatever you want to call it, begins to accommodate that guy. That's not some mystical idea, that's biology doing its thing. And yes, even down to physical adaptation. Depending on the guy, her body learns to respond a certain way. Now multiply that by 5, 10, 20 times and you've got a whole career of biological rewiring. And the theory goes, though I'm not a doctor, obviously, that at some point, that process wears out. It's like muscle memory that fades from disuse. The body forgets how to fully adapt. And when that happens, it might make things like pregnancy a little harder. Again, I'm not claiming gospel truth here, just passing on the logic from those books and lectures. So yeah, it's not about shaming. It's not about counting. It's about understanding how the body actually works behind the scenes and how, maybe, biology keeps a tighter scorecard than we realize. That's the story, folks. Or maybe, just maybe, some clever priest somewhere made all that up to keep people from running wild. Who knows? I read the theory, passed it along, and suddenly I've got folks asking me to refresh their memory. Refresh what, exactly? It's not like this is the Pythagorean theorem. Either way, let's move on. Did I just ruin the vibe? Did I scare off half the room? Welcome to the season finale, I guess. Thanks for tuning in. Alright, next story. Let's dig in. So here's the deal, I got this letter. It starts out all sweet, like one of those notes you find taped to a chocolate bar. But then it takes a sharp left into mom territory. And not just any mom, one with a 19-year-old son. Now, the kid's a great guy. Polite, responsible, sharp. He's working as a bartender at a local club, and recently, he starts talking about wanting to move out and live on his own. Normal stuff for a young man, right? Here's where it gets interesting. There are 2 new girls working at the same club, and the 3 of them are thinking of renting an apartment together. The girls will share one bedroom, and he'll have his own. And just like that, the setup sounds like the intro to every guy's teenage dream. Let's be honest here, 19 years old, living in the next room from 2 attractive women? He's not thinking about how to arrange the silverware. He's thinking this might be the beginning of something fun. At that age, hormones are running the show. If I'd been him, I'd have signed the lease in 5 seconds flat. Now, I get it, his mom's worried. Of course she is. From her point of view, 2 total strangers are about to carry off her little boy into their urban love nest. And he's just walking into it smiling. And yeah, she's not exactly thrilled. So what do I think? Well, I get both sides. As a guy, I totally understand his excitement. As a parent? Yeah. I'd be uneasy too. The idea of your son, your baby, moving in with 2 women he barely knows, well, it doesn't exactly inspire peace of mind. But let's be real, mom's not just upset because he's leaving. She's also dealing with that weird silence echoing through the house when he's gone. You start wondering what to do with his room, turn it into a home gym? A quiet workshop? Maybe just leave it untouched, like a museum dedicated to teenage chaos? And then there's that little voice in the back of her head. The one that says, wait a minute, am I kind of happy about this? You can see it in the smiley faces, the playful tone. Underneath all the worry, she's proud of him. She knows he's growing up. Even if it stings a little. But let's be honest, he is going to move in with those girls. That train already left the station. And sure, maybe it's not exactly what we imagined, but the bigger truth here is that this kid's got almost no shot at detaching from his mother anytime soon. They live together. They're close. She loves him deeply, and that kind of bond, while beautiful, can also become a little sticky. See, at 19, a guy wants to be his own man. He wants to earn a living, feel independent, fall in love, or at least chase something that looks like it. Work in a bar, flirt with pretty girls, crash on a futon, maybe blow half his paycheck on bad sushi and better cologne. It's all part of the starter kit. And honestly, that's perfectly normal. But here's the thing, will there be consequences? Maybe. Will they shape him? Definitely. Can we judge him for it? Nope. Can we guide him? We can try, but if we're being honest, he's probably going to do what he wants anyway. That's just how it goes. Youth comes with its own kind of momentum, and the older you get, the more you realize trying to slow the train is mostly wasted effort. And now Mom's left standing there, looking around the house, thinking, well, time to reorganize his room into something useful. Maybe a little workshop. A quiet space for herself. Something to fill that gap. Which is probably why she came to the lecture in the first place. Not for her son. For herself. To figure out what comes next. And you know what? Good for her. By the way, nice touch with the candy wrapper in that last letter. Sweet and sharp. I always knew how to do life right too, until last year. Then life shook me like a snow globe. Everything upside down, inside out. And yet, I'm the happiest I've ever been. Strange, right? You spend years chasing balance, only to find joy sitting right in the middle of the chaos. But now I've got this fear, like maybe I'm slipping backward. I've been sleeping in later. Skipping workouts. Staying up when I should be shutting down. It's like laziness is creeping in, subtle but familiar, and suddenly I'm asking myself, is this how it starts? Now don't get me wrong, I know how to push through. I know the signs. I've studied this stuff. Heck, one of my degrees is in psychology. But that doesn't mean I'm immune. We all need a little wake-up call now and then. And sometimes, we don't need therapy. We just need someone to give us a firm, loving kick in the pants. So here's your kick. Don't get lazy. Get up. Move. Live. Because if you don't, you're gonna crawl right back under that old rock, and nobody's gonna notice you disappeared. Crystal clear? If a woman asks for something, should you just give it to her? Or will she take it anyway? Honestly, my heart's been walking on thin ice with that question lately. Something about it doesn't sit right. I get this question a lot. How does a woman make sure she and her kids are financially secure in the long run? Especially if she's only working part-time, squeezing it in between diaper changes and family dinners. Well, here's the easy answer: marry a decent man. There. Done. That's it. Of course, that's the fantasy version, the Hallmark script. Because sure, maybe today everything looks great. Maybe your husband's providing, your bills are paid, and the pantry's full. But what if one day he gets sick? Or starts drinking? Or just leaves? Or worse, what if he dies? That's where the marry a good man strategy runs into a wall. And that's when I usually say, yeah, you need a career. You need something of your own. Because as much as we want to believe life is predictable, it isn't. And no offense to my own kind, but we men can be a little unreliable. We're like wild cards with stubble. One minute we're building shelves, the next we're ghosting with a bottle of bourbon in hand. I mean, I've got a wife and kids. I work. I pay my bills. But even I don't pretend I've got it all locked down. I know a few guys who insure their lives or invest in stocks or crypto or something. Me? I bought a small apartment in Cleveland. Nothing glamorous, but I figured I could always rent it out to someone if things got rough. It's not much, but it's something. You make moves where you can. Still, I get it. This is where the conversation starts drifting into existential territory. You wonder, where is all this going? Where is life taking me? And next thing you know, your imagination's flying across the ocean and landing in, I don't know, Barcelona? Point is, yes, you can prepare. You should prepare. Build a career, gain skills, have a plan B. But here's the catch: if you go all in on your career, you probably won't have much left for anything else. You can't live two lives at once. Something always gets sacrificed. And while we're on the topic of wild hypotheticals, what if there's a draft tomorrow and women get called into the army? Yeah, laugh now, but did you prepare for that? Got your boots, your training? You running morning laps through the woods in camo? Didn't think so. You'll be out there trying to climb a fence, tripping over yourself, tangled up in wildflowers and regrets, wondering why you skipped those push-ups in high school gym class. That's when reality hits. If a woman gives up everything for marriage, stops working, stops learning, she starts to forget how to stand on her own. She loses her edge. You get married at 20, focus on the house, the kids, and suddenly, it's 20 years later, and the world's changed, but you haven't. And now you're stuck asking, what do I do if something happens? And here's the irony, maybe nothing happens. Maybe you prepare your whole life for disaster. You brace for heartbreak, loss, betrayal. You learn to carry the weight. But what if none of it comes? What if your husband never drinks, never leaves, never dies? He just retires. Stays healthy. Hangs around the house, mowing the lawn with his favorite hat on. Meanwhile, you're worn out, spent, and distant from your own kids. You chased security, and now you're sitting in a quiet house wondering if it was worth it. And in a dark, exhausted corner of your mind, you're not thinking about flowers anymore. You're thinking, well, maybe just a little cyanide in his tea? Kidding. Mostly. Look, sometimes you don't need to talk to the whole committee, just the guy who made the decision. Because honestly, this stuff gets serious fast. Like, before a man's allowed to explore any kind of inner work or reflection, he's gotta jump out of a plane twice, run a marathon, maybe throw in a confusing night in college, then maybe someone gives him permission to feel something. And yet, here you are, sitting at a lecture like it's a movie night. What's so scary about it? You're not arguing with me, you're not raising your hand, so I assume everything's fine. Just a little observation, the quiet ones? They always leave with a smile. Always. Now, about that guy you're worried about, the one you're thinking of dragging to a men's club meeting. 2 days ago, a group of guys went to one. They all made it through. No one burst into flames. Minimal casualties. And if he still hasn't decided whether he wants to go, maybe he's not ready. Or maybe he just needs a little push. So you're asking, should you give him a gift and invite him to come with you? Would that scare him off? Or should he get there on his own? Listen, I don't know your situation. But I do know mine. I'm married. If my wife wants to go somewhere, she just says, come with me. That's it. And I go. Because if she wants me there, I want to be there. Simple. We've gone to jazz concerts together. I love jazz. Not that I know every name or every tune. I probably only recognize Louis Armstrong because he sounds like a moon landing. But I show up. That's the point. There was this one time, she dragged me on this walking tour of old communal apartments in the city. I thought it sounded cool. Lifelong dream. We went. She hated it. She came back wanting to burn her shoes in half her wardrobe. But you know what? We did it together. And then she surprised me, bought me tickets to the jazz finale at the Philharmonic. If it were just me, I probably wouldn't have gone. But when your wife says, come with me, you say yes. Why? Because love is a survival instinct. That's not poetry, it's logistics. So yeah, ask your question louder. Speak up. Even if it's just for yourself. Because honestly, in our relationship, my wife initiates all our dates. She's the one buying the tickets, planning the outings, setting the tone. I follow the rhythm. And if she didn't buy those tickets, we wouldn't be going. So if you're waiting for him to take the lead, maybe stop waiting. Say what you want. Like this. I want to go to the Philharmonic on the 14th. The concert starts at 7. If you want to come with me, great. But I need to know now because tickets are going fast. That's it. That's the sentence. No riddles. No riddles wrapped in feelings. Just truth. But if you're still not sure, let me ask you something, why are you so set on bringing him with you? And that's not a rhetorical question. You know why. Alright, that's it for today. No fluff, no fairy tales, just straight answers to real questions. If something here made you think, helped you breathe a little easier, or even just made you laugh for a second, good. That means it landed. And hey, this is just the beginning. There's more to say, more to unpack, and you're not the only one asking these questions. So stick around. Check out the next videos, each one dives into the stuff most people only talk about behind closed doors. Take care of yourself and remember, the smartest thing you can do is keep asking the right questions. See you soon.